Hi honey bunches, how you doing? I've been putting off making this but vegan because it seems like far too much for me to condense down into a comprehensive 5-10 minutes, with there being a whole 236 episodes and 85 hours worth of the show. It's intimidating, and while I last watched it all from start to finish over a couple of months at the end of last year, it's the type of series that because there's so much of it, by the time you finish the 10th season, the earlier seasons seem foggy and rewatchable already, which is a real conundrum, as I usually try to not miss a beat nor detail worth mentioning. Plus, the show is so mainstream, it's got enough commentary to its name to last a lifetime, but excuses, I'm biting the bullet and going to make it anyway. I'll be bound to miss one reference, some behind-the-scenes know-how, or forget one of the best moments to help illustrate my point. I have also not veganised every single recipe from the series, just a heads up. But enough talking it down, let's get this but vegan in the archives. I grew up watching British comedy like Mr. Bean, Fawlty Towers, Dad's Army, Vicar of Dibley, The IT Crowd, Black Books and so forth. So through merely what I've watched more of and the comedy I reproduce myself more so in daily life, American comedy doesn't generally hook me in as quickly. It was on the third leg of a 26-hour plane journey from Melbourne to Frankfurt 5 years back that I decided to finally click on the Friends folder of the flight entertainment and see what it was all about. They had about 20 episodes from random seasons, but for the first time ever on a long-haul flight, I'd forgotten about my digestive system's plea for the journey to be over, as well as how much I felt like a dehydrated vegetable, and instead was instantly distracted. This may seem like a small, insignificant thing, however, if you've ever been anxious and encountered that mega frustrating phenomena of whatever you're watching to try and distract yourself from the anxiety becoming something that only perpetuates it further, leaving you in a mighty big pickle, then you'll understand where I'm coming from. Friends breaking this cycle was a mere miracle, one I was most grateful for in my stale travelling state of being, and one I haven't forgotten. The show is renowned for being a staple people turn to after a breakup, when they're depressed, lacking friends of their own, are a breastfeeding, couch-bound mum, or any other number of a distraction would be welcome, thank you very much situations. While many TV shows must have this role for different people, I think there's definitely something comforting in watching a group of tight-knit friends continually face challenges and overcome them while being equally supported and joked about with friends that are like family. Also, in today's individualist world where most of us do not have a family-like group friend situation, and if we do, it's more of an online hangout sitch rather than an IRL coffeehouse one, it's a comforting dynamic to escape to. So Friends is a sitcom, a situational comedy which follows the 6 friends, Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, Ross, Chandler and Joey, through their adulting lives in New York City. Through the familiar settings of the Central Perks coffee house, Monica's apartment, as well as Chandler and Joey's place across the hall. Of course, things happen outside these boundaries, but for the most part, the characters always return to these bases. When they don't, for example, the group go to London, a beach house, Las Vegas or Barbados, the series of course still works, but the unfamiliar structure to the characters' days as well as setting fosters a feeling of homesickness in the audience, eager for the group to return to their life in the village in New York City. Early sitcoms like I Love Lucy had every episode return to a state of normalcy after the protagonist switched domestic gender roles for the day or tried to solve the matter of her husband's messiness. Apart from the premise of the show, the characters and their interactions, what makes Friends so satisfying to watch is the way the series has both episodic cyclical storylines as well as a bit of long-form storytelling regarding the character arcs over the different seasons as well as the entire series. This way, each episode is light enough to watch on its own, as guest characters won't last forever, nor will sticky situations, yet there are enough character developments that stick to generate an emotional payoff over time. The characters are all very different in personalities and backstories, making it unbelievably easy to start watching from any point over the 10 series. Their distinct qualities being Phoebe's quirkiness, Joey's childlike intellect, or Ross's nerdiness, in every scene and piece of dialogue allows the audience to understand the characters enough to follow any storyline. In other shows like Sex and the City or The Big Bang Theory, not that I have watched more than one episode of each, admittedly, the characters appear practically homogenous from the outside. Thin white popular girls in the big city, or science-minded geeks with poor social skills. The difference between these shows and Friends is that you have to put in a little more effort in understanding the characters' personalities, as from the outset they all appear to dress, talk, and conduct themselves in the same way. The fact that this friend group, who essentially see each other every single day, are so different, yet are fiercely loyal to each other, makes the series thoroughly enjoyable, while still creating a premise that allows for an endless amount of character dynamics and storylines. Some of which are absolutely fab, and others, some 20 years later, and frankly probably at the time, a kinda drab. There just wasn't the internet for people to really articulate the reasons why, nor were people perhaps keen to be critical of it, while their favourite show's prominent concern was not getting cancelled. While the show did have an equal number of male to female main characters, and did have some gay representation in the form of Carol and Susan, their sexuality along with Chandler's dad and Chandler's questionable straightness were often the joke, rather than a fact of their being. Yes, everyone's work and personality quirks were the butt of the joke at some point, but no one's sexual orientation was if they were straight. One thing to remember, I guess, is that when you think about the rhythm of the comedy in Friends, it builds on the jokes already made, while also doing a sort of creating tension and breaking it up with another joke thing, which I think is called a downbeat, something that finishes the joke off. All of which makes you realise that there are a lot of funny moments needed in every episode. So while I'm not saying its murky moments are all dandy, the bulk of it is fabulous, with a smattering of wrinkle up your nose moments. Those including Ross taking issue with Ben playing with the Barbie, when most of us, if you've grown up with a brother or watched a boy cousin of yours or something grow up, you'll know that it's as normal as the grass growing for them to take interest in deemed feminine toys, because surprise surprise, young kids haven't fully downloaded the backward patriarchal gender norms we live with onto their psyche. On a similar theme, there's how Ross reacts to the male nanny, or his paranoia about Rachel's relationship with her male colleague Mark. Then there's Joey's attitude towards women being something that you conquer and dispense of the morning after, how seriously creepy his female roommate search is, and the subsequent removal of the locks in the bathroom to sneak a peek while she's in there. The thing about Chandler is his emotional sensitivity and intelligence is consistently perceived as inhibiting his manliness, as he's repeatedly mistaken as gay, which in the eyes of the other male characters at least is perceived as a bad thing. Whenever Chandler brings up his father as well, it's always in an ashamed sort of way that becomes the butt of another joke. Now, I don't think Friends is homophobic, as it has representation and storylines, like the male nanny, which showcase different sexualities and masculinities, but I do think the male characters are uncomfortable with non-conforming sexualities and versions of manhood, therefore driving many of the jokes about sexuality and gender. As for the other characters, Monica's bossiness and controlling nature, Phoebe's rudeness, Rachel's jealousy of Ross only when he's in a relationship, an inability to communicate how she feels, as well as laziness as a housemate and waitress, are a little grating at times. The fat Monica element is rather painful too, as it goes in the pile of media perpetuating society's fat phobia and therefore encouraging the spread of body image problems, eating disorders, and funky relationships towards food that is the norm today. The scene where fat Monica is dancing while eating is used as a joke in itself, which is so bloomin' problematic because it's expecting a laugh at someone literally just super content with themselves, doing two things she enjoys without a smidge of embarrassment. Honestly, I just want to join in the party, as seeing someone just genuinely enjoying themselves with not causing any harm to others only makes me super happy for them. I kind of admire her forwardness with liking food, hesitancy to split a Kit Kat, and enthusiasm to make oodles of courses of food for dates, dinner parties, or special occasions. Good for her. Also, her relationship to food in these flashbacks is practically equivalent to Joey's, the difference being that she's learnt to cook real well to facilitate her pleasure. Again, good for her and her proactiveness. I think it's important to remember that being a situational comedy, often bonkers situations are made up to give the characters things to do and react to. Many of these leave them looking majorly floopy and inducing a major facepalm. Not that I'm excusing some of the situations or character attitudes, but I think it's important when analysing the show to keep in mind its structure and the sheer quantity of it. But on to the glorious bits for which there are oodles, from how certain words and phrases are said.
Danger! Ah, salmon skin roll. You're a man, right, Ross?
Yeah?
Sit down.
All right, Monday, 1 day. Tuesday, 2 day. Wednesday, when? Huh? What day? Thursday. The third day.
Just had me a little nubbinectomy.
Oh, hang on. Hang on! Go. This is madness. It's madness, I tell you, for the love of God, Monica, don't do it!
To the more performative comedic moments.
Danger! Oh my God! Why is he jumping on those women? We should help them. I don't think they need any help.
I'm gonna put on some music.
Maybe
Maybe I'll dance for you.
You know the song. Sing along. Hey, what's going on? What?
Nothing! Oh, God, no, we're just so excited that you want to get this apartment!
Actually, it looks really good.
It looks pretty good! Get in here!
Or my favourite moment, which actually pulled a genuine response from Jennifer Aniston, at least for a split second.
No, wait.
No, Ben, come here. I am not kidding.
No, you guys are serious. You gotta stop doing it.
Anywho, there are oodles more moments we could spend now through Christmas going through, so I'll leave it there and segue into the delicious sampling of recipes I veganized with A-grade results. So seriously, get pumped for some homey New Yorkian taste sensations in Friends but vegan. Hey honey bunches, so I'll say off the bat that I have not made the classic iconic trifle. I've made 3 iconic recipes, but I just didn't want to make something that the chances of you guys making it was pretty low, whether I made that with like vegan mince or like made like a chocolate crumble to make it actually delicious. Anyway, I wanted to make, recipes that you guys would probably make, so I've gone for 3 other recipes which I hope you enjoy. The first one being a pumpkin spinach and ricotta cannelloni. In an early season episode, they lose a ring in a pasta noodle dish, and if you look closely it is cannelloni, so that's what I've made. You want to roast some pumpkin and then make a tofu ricotta with firm tofu, olive oil, nutritional yeast, garlic powder, salt, lemon juice, probably another ingredient that I'm just forgetting, but yeah, blitz that in a food processor. And then the other element that you need to prepare is sauteing some onion and wilting down some spinach. You could leave it chunky or chop it up like I did, up to you. So wax the tofu ricotta in a bowl, add some vegan cheese like a cheddar or a parmesan, something that you're going to taste and something that's going to melt. Then add your wilted spinach and sauteed onion, and then once the pumpkin is finished roasting, just mash it with a fork, leaving, a bit of texture, but not so much texture that it's gonna not fit down your tubes. Although if you're using fresh pasta and you're rolling them up, which if you find fresh pasta that's vegan, then do go ahead and purchase it, because it's going to make your rolling up process a lot easier. Maybe you folks overseas will have better luck with that. I couldn't really find anything at our mainstream supermarkets here in Australia, but I use little gluten-free tubes. They're a lot smaller than the average, that's why I had like a lot of the mixture left over, but for regular sized tubes this is enough for like 12 or something like that. Anyway, it's on the recipe on my blog, don't ask me to remember all the dates. Anyway, so the other element is a white sauce that's going to go with the passata in the sort of wrapping around heavenly layer of sauciness that you're going to wrap these phallic pasta things in. So make a white sauce with melting vegan butter, then adding some plain flour, gluten-free or not, and some vegetable stock powder, then adding soy milk, unsweetened soy milk or unsweetened oat milk slowly to it, and then when it's thickened add some coconut milk, some nutmeg, which is a bit unusual but tastes super good, and salt and pepper. So then you're ready to build your vessel. Add some passata to a dish and about half the white sauce, then submerge your little noodles with some pasta in between each of them, top with the remaining passata and the remaining white sauce and some more vegan cheese, and there you have it. It's super delish. Yeah, the sauce is encapsulating? No, that's not right. Well, surrounding these beauties is really good. The filling does taste like bang on how you would remember it, although it's not as like rich and sickening because it's not cheese, duh. But yeah, it still tastes decadent and rich because of that white sauce. So the next recipe is for banana nut muffins. These are seriously good and they appear all the time in the coffee house. They're eating like blueberry muffins or banana nut muffins, or cakes or brownies or whatever. But they especially appear in that episode where like Chandler licks the muffin that Monica wants to eat. Yeah, but I'm super happy with this recipe. It's gluten free and you would not know it given the consistency. Yeah, so you want to start with mashed banana, add some plant milk, add some coconut sugar, add some grapeseed oil, add some apple cider vinegar and some vanilla. Give that a stir. You could use any sugar you like, obviously, or vegan butter instead of oil. Then you want to add some oats, gluten-free or not, chickpea flour, brown rice flour, I think, almond meal, and baking soda and bicarbonate of soda, and give that a thorough whiskeroo. And then add your nuts. I use a mixture of pecans and almonds. I would recommend you get some pecans in there. Walnuts will also be great. The banana flavour in these is just really like that like cafe muffin sort of vibe. It's really banana-y. I guess maybe there's just like the max amount of banana in there that you can get away with, so it makes it that really like perfumey banana flavour in a good way. You don't want to eat perfume, but you get what I mean. They're really good warm, so either have them like straight out of the oven or like maybe toast them in the toaster with a bit of vegan butter on them. That would be heaven. Yeah, I really hope you like these ones. You can swap out some of the different flours for just regular flour if that's your jam. Oh, and yeah, I also top them with coconut sugar and more chopped nuts, but you probably saw that. Then the last recipe, honey bunches, I've made a version of Monica's candy, which I've called Better Than a Lint Ball vegan chocolates. They have so many layers of delectable goodness. They're making everyone I feed them to go, dang girl. Yeah, they're really good. So you want to start by like putting in a heat-proof bowl some vegan chocolate hazelnut spread, as well as some coconut oil. And so this element is your caramel. So you want to add some almond butter and maple syrup to some melted coconut oil. That makes a caramel that sets when chilled, and it's really great and super easy. No like melting sugar over the hob, which is something that I think a lot of us would be a bit stressed about, ruining a saucepan and whatnot. And then another layer that you want to prep is some like vegan biscuits. So I use these like vegan gluten-free chocolate Tim Tams, and so they're the base. So spread your chopped biscuits of any kind you pick over the base of like a 20 by 20 centimeter situation, or you could just mix up the quantities here to fit your size tin. Then top it with the like melted spread. You just want to melt it so it can really like sandwich all those biscuits together. Then the other element you want to prep is some chopped nuts. This could be pecans or almonds, peanuts, whatever you feel. Don't let me tell you what to do. So add them on top of the set. Yeah, you wanted to put the bottom portion in the freezer so it hardened up. Then add your nuts and then marry that caramel into all the crevices and smooth over. Oh yeah, and also get some sea salt and sprinkle that on top, because we all know that salt makes caramel pop. So return that to the freezer and then it will be hard, and remove it and then chop it up into little bites. Look, you could make this far more like clean cut. That's not my vibe. People who don't cook as much tend to like make things far more aesthetically pleasing. Making like little chocolate or little dessert things look really neat has never been my speciality, but that's fine. Taste is great. That's what matters in my books. So yeah, I just melted lots of Lindt 70% dark chocolate and coated the little chocolates in it. I chilled that tray, which helped them just like set immediately once they'd been coated in the chocolate, so don't worry, it's not gonna like melt all the caramel or anything. And that's them. I hope you get excited about those on Honey Bunches. They would be really great around Christmas time, especially for you Northern Hemisphere folks, because they obviously wouldn't melt as quickly as us experiencing Christmas in summer. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed those 3 recipes, Honey Bunches, and at some stage I will probably bring you a friend's recipe video part 2, because there are so many other options. And that's everything I veganised this round, Honey Bunches. I really like how frequently food crops up in this series, as even though given the setting, being 2 apartments, you'd think it would happen quite a bit. Shows these days seem to forget about it all too often. The constant popcorn snacking, Snapple grabbing from the fridge, muffin chewing, or of course coffee drinking is mega appreciated. Even if the show was filmed in Burbank, California, in flimsy walled and roofless sets, the touches of real food in the series build its sense of verisimilitude, which is a fancy film word meaning truthfulness and believability. Find the full recipes on my blog as usual, honey bunches. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video super soon. Bye!